Curious about the nature repair market? Wondering what it's all about? Stay tuned to find out. So, Australia signed up to the United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity, which commits us to protecting and restoring 30% of the land and water for nature by 2030. This means 30% of all kinds of habitats, not just the ones that are easiest to restore. And the World Economic Forum estimates that the majority of the world's GDP is moderately or highly dependent on nature. Now, many think that governments and businesses are finally starting to focus on the importance of nature and why it's imperative to restore ecosystems. Natural ecosystems and their so called services, things like providing food, flood control, nutrient cycling, etc., that benefit humans, are collectively referred to as natural capital. Biodiversity is being rapidly depleted, and while there are problems with putting a price tag on nature, in my opinion at least, some say it remains critically undervalued in financial and corporate decision making. To change the status quo globally, there are financial mechanisms such as nature markets or nature repair markets that are currently being explored with the hope of driving more investment towards natural capital and ecosystem restoration. The Australian government recently introduced the Nature Repair Market Bill in early 2023. After several months of negotiation, it finally passed through Parliament in December to form the Nature Repair Act of 2023. This created the first ever national voluntary framework for a nature market. But what exactly is a nature repair market? Do we need one, and if so, why? What on earth are biodiversity certificates? Who is going to use a nature repair market? And are there any pitfalls that undermine the market? Keep watching to find out. So, what is a nature repair market? Well, the nature repair market aims to encourage and facilitate private finance towards conserving and restoring Australia's unique natural environment, thereby aiming to boost national investment in halting biodiversity decline. It also seeks to incentivise landholders for their efforts in protecting nature. The nature repair market will allow registered projects to generate tradable, government backed biodiversity certificates that will be associated with biodiversity conservation and ecosystem restoration activities. Voluntary buyers can purchase these certificates to meet their so called nature positive targets and demonstrate investment in Australia's biodiversity. The nature repair market will be voluntary and it will be regulated by the Clean Energy Regulator, which will have monitoring and enforcement powers. Now, this is a little strange because ecosystems and biodiversity are extremely complex, and so you may expect there to be a regulator that specialises in biodiversity and ecosystem restoration, rather than a regulator that specialises in energy. But anyway, that's what's happening. Now, projects will be required to meet regulations and monitoring, reporting and verification requirements in relation to the implementation of project activities and the delivery of environmental outcomes. I mentioned nature positive targets earlier. Now, the Australian government has a nature positive plan, and this is intended to facilitate the significant natural capital investment necessary for Australia to meet its goal of protecting and restoring 30% of our land and 30% of oceans by 2030. This has problems of its own, which I won't go into now, but essentially the nature repair market forms part of this nature positive plan. So that's the nature repair market, but who is going to use the nature repair market and what types of projects will it cover? As with other markets, the nature repair market has a demand element and a supply element. In terms of demand, various stakeholders are expected to be interested in investing in so called nature repair. Trends in the carbon market show that participants are increasingly seeking credits from projects that not only address carbon related concerns, but also deliver benefits to the broader ecosystems. And there are also what's called environmental, social, and corporate governance strategies, or ESGs. Now, these refer to a set of criteria used by investors, businesses, and other stakeholders to evaluate a company's sustainability and societal impact beyond financial performance. So these ESGs are also anticipated to drive demand in nature repair markets. Now, in terms of supply, stakeholders including First Nations peoples, conservation groups, governments, and farmers may benefit from the opportunity to develop projects aimed at ecosystem restoration and sustainability. So let's walk through some examples. Projects can be developed on land within inland waterways such as lakes and rivers, in marine and coastal areas on the mainland of Australia, or in external territories. Projects may include improving or restoring native vegetation through activities such as fencing or weeding, planting a mix of native species, or protecting grasslands that may provide habitat for endangered species. Landholders can also engage in initiatives to preserve current habitats, rehabilitate and improve degraded areas, and create new plantings to support biodiversity. But what are biodiversity certificates? Well, the Nature Repair Act states that a biodiversity certificate represents the biodiversity outcome that a registered biodiversity project is designed to achieve. Biodiversity certificates are the property of their registered holders and may be transferred. So essentially, each project will have a single tradable certificate, and the owners of the certificates can sell them to buyers under commercial contracts. Now, the status and the ownership of biodiversity certificates will happen through a public biodiversity market register. This register will keep all records of registered biodiversity projects and certificates and help certificate owners demonstrate their support for nature repair. The aim is for biodiversity certificates to provide clear information for easy comparison and valuation of projects within the nature repair market. Regular project reports will describe and confirm environmental outcomes. However, this will likely be a very complex undertaking, so it will probably take a while to plan it properly. If that is, doing it properly is the aim. Biodiversity certificates will be traded through the National Stewardship Trading Platform, and this will link landholders and private buyers of biodiversity and carbon outcomes. The marketplace will supposedly enable users to share information, contact listing owners, and negotiate commercial deals directly once connected. Registered users can create public project listings displaying environmental offerings or needs. But how will the nature repair market and biodiversity certificates be used by corporate organisations? Well, proponents of the concept say that acquiring biodiversity certificates through the nature repair market will give businesses and investors a solid foundation for their green claims on nature repair projects. However, it's certainly open to greenwashing, so the market's frameworks, functions, and outcomes need to be carefully scrutinised. Nonetheless, it is thought by some that having easier access to reputable biodiversity projects can help businesses fulfill their sustainability objectives and invest in nature positive impacts. Now, can biodiversity certificates be used as offsets? This is a big question, but the answer supposedly is no. Now, the initial bill early in 2023 included language around the use of certificates for offsets, i.e., being able to destroy habitat in one area so long as biodiversity credits to protect another area were purchased, which is obviously extremely flawed. However, the bill that passed through Parliament in December states 76A biodiversity certificates are not to be used for environmental offsetting purposes. Now, how will the Nature Repair Act be governed? Well, for each registered biodiversity project, a methodology determination is mandatory. Proposed methodologies will undergo review by the Nature Repair Committee, and this is currently being formed. And it will incorporate compliance requirements and biodiversity integrity standards. These standards will supposedly guarantee that projects generate authentic improvements for ecosystems. As mentioned earlier, the regulation of the market falls under the Clean Energy Regulator. Apparently, they are equipped with monitoring and enforcement authority to oversee compliance with the established regulations. This involves monitoring, reporting, and notification of project activities and environmental progress. Now, another big question is how will the nature repair market align with the carbon offset market? The carbon offset market is a system where companies or individuals can purchase carbon offsets, called ACCUs in Australia, to compensate for their greenhouse gas emissions. Now, these offsets represent a reduction of emissions elsewhere. such as through renewable energy projects, forest restoration, or methane capture. Essentially, the carbon offset market allows entities to invest in projects that reduce greenhouse gas emissions to balance out their own carbon footprint, supposedly helping to mitigate climate change. The nature repair market will run in parallel with the carbon markets. The Department of Climate Change, Energy, the Environment and Water states that landholders will have the opportunity to acquire certificates from carbon projects that simultaneously enhance biodiversity. The oversight by the Clean Energy Regulator aims to align the markets, facilitating an easier process for landholders to participate in both schemes. But again, this has issues, and the general pitfalls of nature repair markets will be covered next. Some people loathe the idea of a nature repair market. For instance, in 2023, the Green Institute said, fresh from approving her first coal mine, Environment Minister Tanya Plibersek is pushing the Labour government's first major environmental legislation through the Parliament. And it's a shocker. It's a bill drafted for the blatantly ecocidal Morrison government to establish a market for biodiversity credits. The Nature Repair Market Bill is based on the extraordinary claim that the government simply cannot afford the $2 billion a year it would take to actually protect and repair ecosystems and deliver on their promise to end extinctions. So they need the market to find the cash. But it's not a tax on destructive corporations to pay for it. It's another complex, easy to rot market that is pretending not to be an offset scheme. Now, remember, I said that the original bill might have allowed for the biodiversity certificates to be used in offsetting schemes, but that the official bill put a stop to that. Well, it seems that Australian economist Dr. Richard Dennis had a lot to do with this change. In 2023, he said, the PwC report that guided the government's decision to start a nature repair market is deeply flawed. In fact, he said, it included the silliest economic analysis I've ever seen. The report says the benefits of this bill will be smaller than the benefits that flow from people who just donate to environmental charities. There might be a real risk that the nature repair market can harm the existing flows of money, i.e., from donations, into nature, Dennis maintains. According to the PwC report, the actual benefits of the market in today's dollars is about $5 billion a year, but fossil fuel subsidies are about $11 billion a year. So the idea that the government can't afford it is just bizarre. Meanwhile, did you know that $300 billion will be spent on nuclear submarines? Now, the PwC report that guided the government's decision to create market says it's the last thing you should do. After you have regulations in place, after you have government payment schemes in place to protect the land. So the very source of advice, i.e. the PwC report, that ministers have been using to support the nature repair market doesn't even say it's the best thing to do. In fact, it's way down the list. Ecologist Hugh Possingham recently said, the most important issue is integrity, the transparent proof that actions have delivered additional permanent outcomes, much like biting a coin in 500 BCE to check if it was really gold. And that's the system we're still struggling to create. While governments still need to massively increase investments to repair landscapes and restore habitat for Australian native species, biodiversity markets could be part of a zero extinction Australia. So there's every reason to give biodiversity markets a go, Possingham maintains. So we have lovers and we have loathers and we have those in the middle. What do you think about the nature repair market? Please leave comments below, and thanks for watching.